Story time. In general, if I had a rotation in medical school that gave me the option to go into an ICU, I preferred it. Mostly because it meant I could see more procedures and more acuity, and since I'm in emergency medicine now, I feel like that was useful. Seeing like a critically ill neuro patient, or status epilepticus, or heart failure, or LVADs, which still freak me out, by the way. But one of the times I felt the most useful as a med student was in the neuro ICU. We had a patient who had a pretty bad outcome, and they had an INR of like 10. They were very bleedy, and it was made clear by the patient and their family that they would have wanted to be on hospice, or just to be comfort measures at that point, and not to try super aggressive surgical things or any like quote unquote heroic measures, right? And the patient had an arterial line that was causing them some discomfort, and since they had an INR of 10, they were very likely to bleed, and the residents didn't have a significant amount of time to stand there and make sure that they didn't bleed. And they didn't have family at bedside, so, hi, good morning. I stood there with them after I took their A-line out for a good 45 minutes and just kind of like held pressure there for a long time. And they had a condition where they weren't able to talk to me, but I remember we were watching like Bobby Flay on the Food Network, and we were talking about how neither of us really like the Food Network because it tells us about like really good food or expensive food that we couldn't afford. And they couldn't talk, but they would smile and they would shake their head. And we stood there for about 45 minutes, and I held pressure. And then my attendant came back when they were done with rounds saying, like, all right, you can stop holding pressure. And it didn't bleed after that, which I felt good about. And that was like a pretty useful thing. And in that moment, it wasn't like my knowledge of lysosomal storage diseases or weird conditions that was helpful to the team. It was just standing there and just being a nice dude. And even now as a resident, it's a good reminder of like, sometimes it's not, don't just stand there, do something. Sometimes it's, don't just do something, stand there. And just be with your patient and just be a human. I think about that patient a lot.